Gentlemen, excellent to be back with you on MGTOW Money. Today's topic, how to survive your worst years. Before we get to that, thank you to the newest Patreon supporters of this channel, as well as all the Patreon supporters. Welcome Locomotive, welcome Faisal, welcome Anagai, aka Sean, newest Patreon supporters of this channel. Men, I sincerely appreciate it, as well as guys. I sincerely appreciate the comments that you left for me. That was very, very nice of you. By the way, Patreon supporters, check a posting that I put up yesterday. More actionable ideas to put money directly into your pocket. And before I get on to today's topic, I also briefly want to mention I'm listening to Meditations by Marcus Aurelius. I know some of you don't particularly like reading books. I highly recommend, see the video description today, Meditations by Marcus Aurelius. It'll cost you a whopping 95 cents. Yes, men, 95 cents. On to today's topic, how you're going to survive your worst years. Men, there's a myth. The myth is getting old is terrible. And if you're beyond age 40, it's all downhill. And old people know nothing that's really any degree of practicality, and they certainly don't contribute anything. And this is especially true in the Western culture today, where youth and being young is smiling and happy, etc. This is the ultimate triumph and prize. This is the gold standard. The young people are much smarter, quicker, than they are much more understanding of this new information age, and that they're glorified in many ways, shapes, or form. But listen up, I'm about to tell you the truth, or at least what I perceive is the real truth going on here. This idea of the wonder years, in particular, I'm going to define that between, let's say, age 18 to age 28. It's a myth. In other words, my point is being, for most men, those are miserable years. Those are excruciatingly difficult years. Yes, there might be approximately 4% of men, 4 out of 100, where they have these wonderful experiences, these enjoyable, carefree years of living for today, enjoying college, etc. They have this bright, beautiful future laid out in front of them, etc. However, again, that only applies to a very tiny minority of men, is my theory. Furthermore, I can virtually guarantee you these men came from upper income backgrounds where they probably have never worked a day in their life up until their late 20s. So sure, hey, it's a great deal if you can get it, no question about it. However, if that doesn't apply to you, if you're one of the at least 96%, maybe you need to think about what I'm saying here. From my own experience, from ages 18 to 28, I was flat broke nearly the entire time. I attended 4 different colleges in 3 different cities, and furthermore, I was married and divorced during that same 10-year period. That doesn't sound like a good time, and I understand that doesn't apply to every single person on this channel, but I bet those similar type circumstances apply to many of you, as all of us have probably made a series of very, very bad decisions during that time period. No excuses, 100% my responsibility. Now, here's what you're going to do, men, to avoid those types of miserable years, or at least mitigate those miserable years, and lay out your tremendous future, your fantastic foundation that you're going to have in the years ahead. 1, I've quoted the philosopher, writer Nassim Taleb many times, and he says, if riding a blind horse, you want him to move slowly. His point is, men, for example, your brain is not fully developed. Some experts say until about the age 25. I think for me, actually, it was probably age 35. But needless to say, the point being is that you need to be very, very careful in the decision that you are making between age 18 and 28. The point being, simple terms, avoid any serious commitments. Let me define serious commitments. Of course, don't live with women. Don't get married to a woman. That should go without saying. Avoid debt. Especially, I'm talking about debt when it comes to college loans, auto loans, credit cards, etc. In other words, non-productive debt, avoid them. I might also add, avoid schemes, avoid scams, avoid these sort of get-rich ideas, etc. I've done videos about them in the past. Next, I understand, again, why a lot of men, and I certainly, again, suffered through that misery of 18 to 28. You've got a vague, opaque, uncertain future. You don't know what lays over the bend. It feels very, very insecure in your life right now, and it's extremely demoralizing. I get it. Here's what you're going to do. Establish a target date, a specific date in the future, a very determined date. Let's just say January 2nd, 2032, or whatever that date might be. Specifically, that date is going to be when you're going to hit your FU money. In other words, again, defining FU money, enough money that you can walk away from the job, from the situation that you hate. In other words, take that date, take your individual dollar amount, whatever that dollar amount you've determined. I've talked about the magic number in previous videos. So a quick, easy example, if in 10 years you want, using round figures, 500,000 US dollars, how are you going to do it? Well, let's see, 10 years, 10 times 12, that's 120 months. How much can you save per month? And what's your expected rate of return? Period. That's it. Punch in those numbers, go to a savings calculator or some sort of investment calculator. Thousands of them are available. Furthermore, again, I'm going to include a couple of links in the video description of today's video for videos that I've done specifically targeted to millennials and things that you can do to get off the mark. I think this is critical to set up your financial future today. Lastly, to take this full circle, the best years of your life are ahead of you. As one commenter recently talked about, I think he was 50 or 51, he was talking about how my life is great. You know what, man? I'm on the same page. You're absolutely right. My best years are now. My best years have been, frankly, since I achieved my FU money, and it just gets better and better. That's the point, men. Your future can be fantastic. You can have a tremendous future. Even if you don't achieve your actual dollar amount, if you get something close to it, you're going to feel great and you're going to feel proud. In 20 years, 25 years, 30 years, you're going to see, men, how much more your mind is, relatively speaking, it's fully developed. And thus, hopefully, you're calmer. And specifically, that your emotions are much more under control, that your decision making is much more prudent, that you're much more careful. And most importantly, you're going to be your own man. You're going to wake up every day at the time you want. You're going to go to bed when you want. And in between, you're going to do what you want. Quick summary here, men. If you start making great decisions today, or at least avoid making poor decisions, you will start laying the groundwork. You'll have a foundation for a fantastic future. The key to success for a young man from 18 to 28 right now, listen carefully, just avoid major mistakes. Just simply avoid making serious life-changing errors. Next, start establishing a target date, something definable, something that's very specific, that's certain, that's absolutely clear. In other words, you know deep down that every single day you are slowly, methodically, consistently working towards that very specific, clearly defined dollar amount goal. And even if you fall a little bit short, okay, well, let's say it takes you 11 years or 12 years versus the 10 years that you would hope for. Or maybe you fell short a little bit on the dollar amount. I can guarantee you, men, you know what? There's no downside here. It's going to be all upside for the tremendous future you're going to have. And again, and the most important part of this entire video is the following. Listen carefully. Your best years are ahead of you. Look, we're all like fish in water. We don't know that we're in water. Time is passing you by. You should celebrate getting older, because you can celebrate getting older if you are moving forward, if you are getting a little bit more closer to your ultimate goal. In other words, you can look at your progress on an objective basis and feel good that you are moving forward, at least in some sort of stair-step fashion. Furthermore, of course, getting old is a blessing. I can promise you. You will be ruling over your emotions as opposed to your emotions ruling over you. Finishing. Men, You are not your past. You are what you choose to become today and laying out into the future. You can be your own man. If you want to be a man going your own way, you can start doing it today. Gentlemen, as always, hit the like button if you found this useful. John Galt, out.